Hey everybody, it's Caroline here at Greenbird Yoga, and today's video is all about yoga activities that you can do with kids at the holidays. So a lot of times at the holidays it can be super busy, everybody's kind of running around, you might have holiday parties to go to, gifts to wrap, just nonstop sort of action and busyness. And sometimes kids, you'll find that this time of year, kids are maybe melting down more than they normally do. And kids can feel a lot of that stress of the holidays too, where it might be kind of manifested as them acting out or throwing some tantrums or just generally kind of being kind of crazy. So today's video, I thought it would be fun to share some of the activities that I do in my yoga classes. And I wanted to share with you 4 different ones. I picked some of my favorites. I picked 2 calming activities for kids, and then I picked 2 energizing. And yeah, I know I kind of just said that everything is so busy this time of year. Why would you want your kid to be more energized? But oftentimes kids need that outlet for energy so that they can therefore then kind of calm down and get some of their wiggles and their crazies out. So a lot of times when I'm teaching, or every time when I'm teaching my children's yoga classes, I always incorporate a good mix of calming activities and activities that I know are going to invigorate the kids and hopefully get, their wiggles out, their nervousness out, their stress out. So it should always be a good combo of the 2. So the first set of activities I'm going to show you are the invigorating activities. So you can do these with just you and one other kiddo. If you're at a holiday party and kids are kind of getting crazy and melting down, and this is a perfect opportunity to kind of jump in and maybe do a couple of games with a group of kids. So you can do it with a bunch of kids or you can do it with one child. So the first game that I love to play, and it's nice if you have a little bit of space, so if you have the opportunity to get outside with kids, all the better. You can still do these activities indoors as well. So the first one of my favorites, every single class of kids I teach, this is almost 95% of the time their favorite activity. So this one is called Yoga Freeze Dance. I do it with my 2-year-olds all the way up to my 12-year-olds. I do it with everybody. I sometimes kind of wish I could do it with adults too, because I think it's just such a fun game. So super easy. It's called Yoga Freeze Dance. This time of year, throw on some really rockin' holiday music or something like that. Kids are going to be able to free dance and move around, and like I said, you can do this with just one child. Pause the music. When it pauses, they have to freeze into a yoga pose. So I'll say this right away, you don't need to know yoga poses to play this game, right? So if you know yoga poses, you can, say, okay, everybody freeze in tree pose, and the kids can all freeze in tree pose. Or everybody freeze like you're a star, and they can hold their hands out and be a star or a snowflake. So I'm telling you, you don't need to know a ton of yoga for this. So give them a shape to freeze in, or give them a funny character, like can you freeze and be Olaf from Frozen or something like that. So yoga freeze dance is great. You can also use this as a calming activity as well, putting on some quiet holiday piano music or guitar music and ask the kids to move as slowly as they can. Like, can you move like you're frozen? So can you move so slowly like you're turning into ice? And then turn the music off and have them freeze. And maybe their freezing is something really quiet and peaceful, a pine tree. Can you freeze like a snowman? So that game can be both invigorating and calming. So that's the first one, Yoga Freeze Dance. Second one, super easy. You remember this from elementary school PE, red light, green light. Okay, so this is another great one. Somebody stands at one end, the rest of the group, or even if it's just one child is at the other end. They're trying to move towards you. You're saying red light, and they freeze. And as you say red light, you could again ask them to freeze in a yoga pose. Can you freeze in tree pose? Can you freeze and get some reindeer antlers? Something like that. So again, be creative, be silly with this. The sillier you are, the better. It just makes it so much more fun. So red light, green light, another really fun one. If you find that the kids are sprinting towards you and you don't have enough room, tell them that they have to move like they're moving through snow. Tell them they have to crawl. Even better, make them bear crawl, make them crab walk. Give them a challenge. It's going to tire them out, and these are also building great skills for them. So that's the second invigorating game. Now we'll move into more calming activities that you can do with your child. Again, it can be with a group. It can also just be you and your child. These are really nice ones to do before bed as well. If you find they've had a long day, maybe they're coming back from holiday parties and they're just wound up, this is a really nice one. So body chalkboard is what I call this one. It's really nice. So you and your child can take turns. You're going to be in child's pose. So resting down here on knees. One person is the chalkboard, one person is the writer. So depending on the age of your child, you're going to modify this activity. So if they're really young, maybe they're 2, 3, 4, you can just be making a simple shape. So you can say, I'm going to try to draw a shape on your back. You close your eyes and tell me what you think it is. Now, a 2-year-old's not going to quite be able to play that game. So you can do something a little bit easier, like I'm going to make some raindrops on your back. I'm going to make some wind on your back. I'm going to let some snowflakes fall on your back. So this is really nice sensory for kids. It's a nice way for them to close their eyes and kind of tune into the sensations. It's a great place to encourage them to take deep breaths. Then as the child gets older, one thing I love to do with my almost 4-year-old and 6-year-old, I'll try to do letters. I'll do some letters on their back. Can you guess what letter I'm doing? This morning I did it with my 4-year-old as she climbed into my bed. She was laying on her tummy and I drew some circles, or I drew a triangle and asked her what shape. I did some letters. So it's just kind of a fun one. It's also just nice to connect with your child in a really nice, calming, physical way. And like I said, you can flip it the other way. You can be the chalkboard and they can be the writer, and that's fun too. Second calming activity that I love is pass the chime. So this is another favorite one of all my kids' classes. You may not have a yoga chime. You might have a bell, like even a jingle bell in your house. You can do this by sitting in a circle. So if you have a couple kids, that's great. If it's just you and your child, you can just kind of pass the chime or the bell back and forth. And so you want to just pass it back and forth with a chime. It's a little bit easier because we ring the chime and then pass it around the circle and hope that by the time it comes back to you, the chime is still sounding. So it's a great activity for promoting listening skills in kids. But if you don't have a yoga chime, you can modify this activity. You can also do the pass the energy, where you're holding hands. Again, if it's just you and your child, you're holding hands across from them. Or if it's a circle of kids, they can all be holding hands. One person starts the squeeze and you can try to make it around the circle and back to the original person. And again, if it's just you and your child, you can kind of pass the squeeze back and forth. So that's kind of a fun one. Again, another one where you're getting a little bit of soft physical touch. You can encourage kids to close their eyes. You can talk about the idea of passing energy back and forth, that I'm going to pass you some kindness and some loving energy. If they're really wound up, you can say, I'm going to pass you some calm energy. So close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose. You can squeeze their hand, and when they breathe out, you can pass the squeeze back and forth. So get creative with it. These are just some of my little tricks of the trade that I like to share with parents and people who work with kids. But these are great activities to do at the holidays. It's really hard for kids. They're oftentimes out of their routine. They're not able to take their nap. There's a lot of expectations with gifts and, giving grandma a hug, and there's just a lot of expectations on kids. So just be mindful, and maybe some quiet yoga time or some invigorating yoga time might be just what they need. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment, let me know if you tried any of these. Let me know if you have questions on any of these. And stay tuned. In the new year, I will be offering a kids yoga instructor training here at the studio. It'll just be an intro to doing kids yoga in your classroom and in your home with your child. So stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot more of these tricks of the trade that will help you help the child in your life be a lot more calm and centered. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.